welcome back to my channel. So we have got some details regarding Secret Wars main villain Beyonder and Kang details. Let's get into this.
Well, it looks like we know what Marvel Studios is going to do for the final villain of the multiverse saga. There is a lot that has happened recently with Jonathan Majors being in court, being found guilty. Marvel Studios has officially decided to move on without Jonathan Majors, and it looks like both reports that we have received about the future of Kang the Conqueror are indeed true. Last week we talked about how two things are happening with Marvel Studios. One is that Avengers Kang Dynasty is not Avengers Kang Dynasty anymore, and that does seem to be the case right now over at Marvel Studios. It looks like they are just referring to it as Avengers 5 right now. However, at the same time, that doesn't mean Kang is completely done. According to reports, they are simply sweeping him under the rug for the time being, and he is indeed going to be returning in Avengers Secret Wars. However, it does seem like another villain is going to play a pretty prominent role in Avengers Secret Wars as well. And it does seem like Marvel Studios is going to kind of take a page from Marvel Comics for Secret Wars. So a lot to break down today. It also looks like we might have a rough release date for Avengers 5 and Spider-Man 4, which we'll talk about, of course, in this video. So if you're new, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos, and if you subscribe and leave a comment, you're entered in our giveaway for a chance to win a PS5, an Xbox Series X, some Marvel Legends items, and some DC items. Winner picks one item. We pick one winner at the end of each month, and we're almost at the end of the month, so be sure to subscribe. So right away, let's just hit you with the Avengers 5 and Spider-Man 4 news. It looks like, according to insider Daniel RBK, Avengers 5 is not going to be filming until late 2024 this year. This is good news because right now, Avengers the Kang Dynasty is slated for May 1st of 2026. So the fact that they are starting filming and production a year and a half before the movie's release date is really, really good news. That gives them a lot of time to really get things down, like the visual effects. Plus, not to mention, it looks like the story kind of has to be either scrapped or drastically changed, since Kang the Conqueror is no longer going to be the villain of the movie titled The Kang Dynasty. So obviously, a lot of changes are going to be happening to Avengers 5. So it's really good that they have a lot of time before the actual release date of the movie. This means that the release date probably won't change, and they'll stick to May 1st, 2026. Now, according to Daniel RBK, Spider-Man 4 is not going to begin filming until 2025, which some people have found confusing, but keep in mind, Spider-Man 4 has always been reported to be released between Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. It's not supposed to come before Avengers 5. This way they can work in a multiverse story a little bit better, since they'll be further along into the story in the MCU. So the Spider-Man 4 release date is most likely looking at the end of 2026 because it has to come after Avengers 5. But this is actually pretty good news because a lot of people were expecting some pretty big delays following Jonathan Majors being found guilty and being released from Marvel. But right now it looks like things are still on schedule, which is great news. Now, diving into Kang a little bit more, we've always known that the final villain of Secret Wars was going to be some type of Beyonder variant. Insiders have been pretty vague about what exactly to expect. However, it looks like we might finally know how exactly the Beyonder and Kang are going to come into play in Avengers Secret Wars. I don't know anything about the Beyonder. Now, before we thought it might have been a Kang variant who is the Beyonder, but right now it's looking like the Beyonder could simply be himself, and we could be looking at a very comic accurate Beyonder Secret Wars story here. Now, it looks like Marvel Studios has a very specific purpose for the Beyonder and for Kang in Secret Wars, and it looks like they are kind of going to be using this as an excuse to recast Kang. That's at least what the insider My Time to Shine Hello stated on December 25th, yesterday. She tweeted another one, as in another scoop: the Beyonder is still the main villain for Secret Wars. That will be their excuse to recast Kang. Then to top it all off, Alex Perez, another insider from thecosmiccircus.com, retweeted this tweet simply stating, "Yup," meaning he's heard the same thing. So right off the bat, this does tell us that Kang is indeed going to be staying in the MCU. They are indeed going to push him to the side for a little bit, but he'll return in a pretty big way in Avengers Secret Wars, and of course, he'll be recast. Now, quick side note, a lot of people are asking, well, what if Jonathan Majors appeals and what if he wins? Will Marvel Studios and Disney then take him back? And that really is an excellent question, especially since Marvel Studios and Disney have taken people back before. War. The perfect example is James Gunn. They fired him, but then he came back to direct Guardians Volume 3. So just based off of that case with James Gunn, could it be a possibility? Yes. Is it likely? I don't believe so, but anything is possible. But for right now, according to all of these insiders,
people have done a lot
they
worse.
are indeed trying to recast. And if they recast before Jonathan Majors appeals and before he could possibly win, then I think they're going to stick with who they chose to replace Jonathan Majors, because that option, in their eyes, could be less problematic. Although I'm sure fans are going to be up in arms if Jonathan Majors wins his appeal and isn't hired back by Marvel Studios.
Yep.
Now, Alex Perez from the Cosmic Circus hinted at what the story for the Beyonder and Kang is going to be in Secret Wars, and honestly, it sounds pretty cool. And if you're a Naruto fan, you're gonna like this. A Twitter account online posted this: I have a feeling that they're going to pull a Kaguya with the Beyonder. And Alex Perez basically confirmed that this is indeed what they're going to do.
I don't know what that is yet, but I've been watching Naruto.
It makes a lot of sense and is basically comic accurate to Secret Wars. Now, I'll explain what this is for those who don't know. In Naruto, they basically made a villain that was way too powerful for anybody to defeat. So a bigger villain was introduced to kill him. Kaguya. Kaguya was much more powerful, but she actually had greater weaknesses that the heroes could exploit. So essentially, she was more vulnerable. She was much more powerful, but actually was defeatable. And it looks like that could be what they're going to be doing with Kang and the Beyonder. So Kang could grow to be way too powerful for anybody to defeat.
That's
until
scary.
The Beyonder steps in and defeats Kang himself.
That makes
and
sense.
then that's when the heroes step in to defeat the Beyonder, because in the comics, Doom takes the powers of the Beyonder and he becomes God Emperor Doom. But I think there could be a little bit of a twist here. I think the Beyonder could come in and defeat the Council of Kangs, but then I think a Kang Variant could take the powers of the Beyonder, and that's how we get this Kang Beyonder variant that everybody has been reporting and talking about for a long time now. That way they make it to where Kang is still the villain that has been set up since basically the beginning of the multiverse saga with Loki Season 1, when they introduced a variant of Kang, He Who Remains. Then of course Loki 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. It would be nice to see Kang still be the final big bad at the end of this all, despite everything that's happened. So perhaps the Council of Kangs becomes too powerful for anybody to defeat, which makes sense. They are outside of space and time. They can control space and time. Their technology is really just beyond anything our Avengers have, and there's 3 of them working together who are super, super powerful. And we basically have already known that in Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, or Avengers 5, originally at least, the heroes were going to lose, and the multiverse was going to start to truly fall apart. That's how we got our big multiversal team. The multiverse falls apart, the TVA grabs a bunch of heroes, they bring them all together from a bunch of different universes, then they go and they fight Kang the Conqueror, or the Council of Kangs on all the variants. So comic book fans, or just anybody who has read Avengers Secret Wars, can see how this is kind of becoming comic accurate. If a bunch of heroes from a bunch of different universes get gathered on one planet, that's Battle World. Then if the Beyonder shows up and reveals that he is the one who has actually been behind everything, that is extremely comic accurate as well. And then instead of Doom taking the powers of the Beyonder, they just simply have a Kang variant take the powers of the Beyonder, and then he becomes the true big bad villain. If this happens, I think a lot of people are going to be pretty happy with how comic accurate the movie could be. And story-wise, it makes a lot of sense. But let us know what you think about this in the comments down below. Do you like this idea? Do you not like this idea? And who do you think they should get to recast as Kang the Conqueror? Let us know all your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to stay up to date on the MCU and enter our giveaway. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter as well. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Wolf Wolf.
It makes sense as long as they do it properly, in my opinion. I was thinking about that, and I thought about that when, you know, everything kind of hit the fan when Jonathan Majors, you know, was guilty of this. It's just like, okay, well, what if he appeals? Because in my opinion, I just feel like there's still some loose ends with this whole situation. So he very well could appeal, and he very well could win. But will Marvel and Disney take him back? They may not want to deal with what comes, or the you know, drama that comes with Jonathan Majors' name and what happened, but We've seen actors do a lot worse and they're still working, they're still doing stuff, they get to finish projects and things like that. So anything is possible. Whether they want to make this move or not, there's still a lot of time. If they're not planning on bringing Kang back for a long time, that gives Jonathan Majors enough time to go and appeal if he wants to, possibly win the appeal, and see if there can be some type of negotiation to come back to work, or for even have a small snippet of something. But from here to then, there's going to be a lot of work that's going to be done. They probably already had things rewritten, replanned, ideas on people that they want to call to recast. And by that time, I think that they're already going to be committed to the changes that they are already starting to make. So even if he does appeal, even if things work in his favor later, I don't know if we will see Jonathan Majors back on this again. But anything is possible. We've seen stuff, but I don't know who the Beyonder is, but it makes sense as to how they want to do this. And even if Jonathan Majors does appeal and win, and they still don't want to work with him, someone like me, I don't really know the comics like that. I didn't grow up reading the comics, but for those comic fans, like he said, if this is going to be pretty comic accurate, I think that would be a nice balance. That even though we're not getting Jonathan Majors back, at least we're seeing something that is coinciding with what we know from the comics. Not we, but what the fans know from the comics. And I think it would be a refreshing thing to see that unfold. If it unfolds the way that it seems like it can unfold. Whether it's going to fold or not, I know. My whole thing is, as a fan, I just want things to be done right. I know it's tough. I know we've gotten used to seeing Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror, and I know it's kind of hard to kind of see anybody else play that. I can't think of anybody else that comes to mind other than like John Boyega, maybe. But I don't know if he really has that strong essence or presence that Jonathan Majors had. He had like that devious, calm, crazy vibe with Kang the Conqueror. So I don't know who else. I you know, don't know. But you never know. Anything is possible as long as they do it right. As long as they recast him with someone who is just as good or better, that can play the heck out of Kang the Conqueror. That's just my opinion. But leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. Your thoughts, your opinions. Who do you think can play? Who do you think that they should recast for Kang the Conqueror? And do you think that it is a possibility for him to come back to Marvel and Disney if he appeals and wins? Leave your comments down below, and if you haven't done so, subscribe to my channel, hit like, share, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you guys can get notified whenever I pop up on your feed. I'll see you guys later. Toodles!